Hey there, it's Patricia, and I'm here with a couple of people who just finished one of the rounds of the online HSP course, and they've been gracious enough to come on and talk about their experience. We're making a couple of these clips. We've not had this conversation before. It looks like Shelly's screen is frozen up, so we don't have a mannequin there. There is a real person. So we're just going to be talking a little bit about the course here. So I'm curious to know, how was it being in a group of other people, being online? Like, what were your thoughts before you took the course, and then what was your experience once you actually had the experience?
I keep freezing up. Can
You're
you
good right
see?
now.
Can you,
Yeah.
I guess, am I good? Okay. So my thoughts before the course and then after
Yeah, being
is
in a
that
group of
right?
people and being online.
So before joining the course, I basically listened to your podcast and felt somewhat like relieved that I wasn't the only one. I wasn't really sure what an HSP was, or even if I was one.
Hmm.
But over time, I've learned that through more listening through your podcast and then joining the course that I'm not alone, and that was a huge thing for me because I think it sort of tends to magnify when you feel like you're alone and like what's wrong with me and why am I getting so upset or why do I have these feelings, and being in the group with your leadership and the camaraderie of the other participants, other people in our group, I felt like I finally belonged somewhere where it was more than just sharing your stories or problems. It was about receiving support, offering support, and really showing up in your authentic way. And I feel like that is I'm carrying that into other areas of my life. And it feels good. It's still work in progress,
It
but
always will
I
be.
feel like, yeah,
It's an
thanks.
ongoing process.
Yeah, yeah. So it's still, like I said, I'm integrating a lot of the things that we've discussed, and it's been really, really helpful to again to know that I'm not alone out there, and just being able to navigate, each feeling or situation kind of just like one step at a time.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Thanks.
Hmm.
For me, I would have never taken this course. I am an incredibly frugal person, downright cheap. And my husband decided to take this course, and I was like, "Hey, I don't want you to, get ahead of me here." So I decided, okay, I'll take it, and I'm just blown away. I just I can't believe how much I would have missed out on. Just how different things are now. And honestly, my our marriage is better because we have some common language and some. We're both taking so much better care of ourselves. Our boundaries are better. Um, so it was shocking to me that I would have never done this. Never. And I'm so glad. It's so sad to me to think of what if I hadn't, what if I had missed it and had just, had read the books and stuff like that. It's because it's really is so much more.
Well, and this is the
Hmm.
first time that I'm hearing this because I put you and your husband in separate groups because we needed to do that, and
Yeah.
I don't talk to him about you and I don't talk to you about him. So this is the first
Right.
time that I'm hearing that. So for somebody who is like you that feels like, I've spent money on courses, I know about being an HSP, that's a lot of money. What would you say as far as the experience that what is it that they may not be seeing or taking into consideration? Because I have those same things too around spending money on courses. I've been there, I've done that. It's not worth it. It's expensive.
Right.
What would you share with somebody that maybe help them see it a little bit differently or the value that they get? And as you can see, my dog's nose, she's on my lap, so that's Gracie's nose.
What I would
So
say to
cute.
people who don't want to do it or don't want to take the course to spend the money, I would say think back to the first time you learned the term HSP and what it meant. and you had that like, oh my gosh, that's what it is moment. Take that, and if that was significant for you, then this course will blow your mind and change your life. If you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm an HSP or not, it's going to help you to really understand it and understand it. Like, because my husband is still not completely sure that he's an HSP. I think even if he isn't, he's still a very sensitive person, and this
Mhm.
still helped him very much. Um, but I definitely think for me, of speaking for myself, is when I learned the term, I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. And so the course gave me so much more than I was learning in the books, even though the information was there. It was just kind of being able to integrate it and figure out how to use that information in a way that for me became very life changing.
Thanks for sharing.
Mhm. I agree. And I think that once you, I think, step in that arena of being okay with I think we have a tendency to be, oh, you're too sensitive. Oh, I didn't, I was just joking. When you finally step out of that, you know, label of being too sensitive, then you can say, no, this is actually a really wonderful trait because you are so feeling and heartfelt. And I feel like it gives being in this course gives us permission to stand up for who we are and what we're doing. And again, I keep going back to the support. It's just so huge to have other people out there rooting for you, bouncing stuff off one another.
I have one son that is very sensitive, which is probably very much like my husband, and the other one is obviously we took the test with both of them, and my youngest scored very high, and it was it changed our relationship because all of the stuff that I had been told by my family of origin that was not acceptable, I was, even though I'm really try to be very conscious, I was passing some of that on to him. And so it's really been a big change for me to be like, oh, that's his HSP trait and that's okay. And to give him that room and to be who he really is and to accept his sensitivity as a good thing, it's really calmed our relation. There's not that annoying little bit of tension there, even though I'm trying to love him on top of that. There's no having to love him on top of it anymore. It's I get it. And since I allow it in myself, I can allow it in him. And it's really blossomed. It's been lovely. And thank goodness he's 12. So I got this right before the teen year.
Yeah, yeah. I want to respond to that, but Shelley, I want to go back to you before you lose your train of thought.
Mhm.
Did you have something you
Well,
wanted to
I,
share?
I think just kind of what Melissa said with her son, I feel that way with myself, that I have more understanding and compassion for myself, not beating myself up because I'm too sensitive and I take things too sensitively. So again, it just helps to know that I'm not the only one, and it's okay. It's like I'm okay,
Yeah.
and um, yeah, it's been really, really valuable to be a part of this in that
Oh.
way alone.
Did
So
you ever feel like anybody in the group took
yeah,
up too much time, or you didn't get to have a chance to talk, or that thing of like when someone talks, you're like, oh my God, someone's talking again. Did you have any of that
no,
stuff go on in your group?
no, never.
It was so
In fact, I think we
beneficial.
were all, yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
think we bounced things off one another pretty smoothly, and we took time to listen to each other. And maybe one meeting or one day, someone would be having a little bit more on their plate than the others, but it seemed to even itself out like the next week. So you didn't really feel like it was ever being overran by someone.
Yeah, that's the
um
benefit of being in a course with a bunch of HSPs. We're also super sensitive to each other that I think every time somebody took up a lot of time, we were like, did I take up too much time? like
Well,
super on top of that.
And we use that as a reality check because there were times when people were needing more time than others. And so, often what that person would share is like, I feel like I'm taking up too much time. Or I would pick up on like, I'm making up a story in my head that you feel like you can't share today because you shared so much last time. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling. Do you want to get a reality check? And so we did that a number of times. And are you able to share, about how that was, either if you were one of the people that received feedback about that, or the feedback that you gave around that? Somebody feeling like they were being too much.
We all had that. I think, and we all took turns at least once. And I, to me, that was so delicious to have that, because I've spent my whole life feeling like I'm too much, I need too much, I want too much, I want to give too much. It was always too much. So to be able to be around people who understood what that felt like, and for you to be able to be sensitive enough to pick up on that that's what was happening, and to be able to put a voice to that, that was huge for me, because that's the voice I've been telling to be quiet for so many years. So for you to give that voice permission to be there and say, hey, I actually need to check in with that voice. That's a valid part of me. That's part of being sensitive. So I loved it. And when people would go off, and your interactions with them on the days that they needed more attention were always helpful.
Mhm. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, we have this stuff that goes on all the time. I mean, I had something go on over the weekend with my son and his girlfriend were in town, and you know, what works for me doesn't work for everybody else. And so when I have to assert myself, I have this narrative of, everybody goes along because I'm the only one that it works for, and nobody else likes it. And I named it. And so there's so much power in doing this work, because I don't want to walk around with that junk in my head. I mean, there are times when it's appropriate to say something, and times when you don't want to do that. You don't want to be saying it all the time. But there's just so much power when we can name what's going on. I'm feeling sensitive about time, and I want to keep these little blips short. So I want to wrap this one up. And thank you for listening. If you're interested in taking the course, you can go to unapologeticallysensitive.com. There's a tab for the HSP groups if you're interested. If you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to me at unapologeticallysensitive@gmail.com. Thanks so much for being here today with me. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.